I'd just like to start by introducing the two professors who are on our panel. So Kwame Nimako is the founder of the Summer School on Black Europe, which is a 2-week program in Amsterdam that addresses issues of race, colonial legacies, legacies of slavery in Europe. He teaches at the Graduate School of Social Sciences at the University of Amsterdam, and he's currently a visiting professor at UC Berkeley in the Department of African Studies. His work addresses issues related to race, migration, Black European studies, and the memories and legacies of slavery.
And our second panelist, our Italian studies department had no trouble thinking of her. Laura Fantone is a sociologist of migration, and she, just like Fred Kuwornu, comes from Bologna. She is also a graduate of that university, and she studies gender and ethnic studies. And she is currently in the Gender and Women's Studies department at UC Berkeley.
Okay, good afternoon. My name is Kwame Nimako. As Camila said, I want to start by congratulating Fred for being bold enough to take this initiative to start to make this film. Because it's very complicated in a sense that the position of Italy is as problematic as the position of the blacks or people of color in the country. I say the position of Italy is problematic because since from around 1974 and actually 1992, fortress Europe, much of the immigration problems have shifted and come on the doors of countries like Italy and Greece and those border countries. So these countries have multiple problems, and they are normally blamed for things which are not their fault, so to speak. So that should be put in a context. That the problem of those black groups has to be tied to the problems which Italy is also facing, especially with the incoming of migration. Now, if I speak of Black Europe, normally I mean people who were born in Europe and are European citizens, don't know other country than the countries which they are born in, but still considered as outsiders from the country. But the Italian situation, as we saw here, is much more complicated in the sense that it comes with the issue of citizenship, which is a bit close to the Italian case than, let's say, France and the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom recognizes color, France does not recognize color, and in the case of Germany, does not recognize census or figures, and then the case of Italy. So I was surprised to hear the Italian situation that they have 900,000 second generation, as they call them, and also 12% of the population. Something you may not get from France or you may not get from Germany. But what normally the problem of such films is that instead of focusing on what the filmmaker has done, we tend to ask what he did not do. So what I want to know is about the issue of solidarity. How, whom are these people speaking to with regard to the issue of citizenship? The European Union does not feature in the discussions, and it appears that the people you interviewed are also people who are doing well in the Italian community by studying and all those things. The question is, what about the others who are not doing well? And also, what is the role of solidarity? Which groups are supporting these groups in relation to citizenship? And why did we get only the version of these young people rather than us people who are in solidarity to solve these issues, if you have any opinion on that? I don't want to ask too many questions because I think the room is packed, so you may have a lot of questions yourself. So,
It's also difficult to hear with the music in the back here.
We'll try to talk much more. Yeah, so first of all, thank to everyone to come, and I just only make an introduction how also this project came, this initiative came many months ago when Camilla Ochorn sent me an email. She was doing, I think, a research about the second generation in Italy, and she found our website about our documentary, and she asked to have a DVD, and so we started a relation to and we didn't think to come in Berkeley, also because at the time the documentary was designed specifically for the Italian audience, but being me a filmmaker which is working also with another film about African American soldiers in World War II in Italy, in America, also I bring now this documentary. And I discovered, we did a lot of university, 40 universities in the last 2 months, from the East Coast and the West Coast, and we discovered that basically the citizenship is something that is referred to every country, not only to Italy and not only to Europe. In the future it will be referred also to African countries. That, for example, Ghana is going well its economy, so I'm sure that they will have in Ghana many immigrants and many sons of immigrants. And you have to think that in the world, actually, there are a lot of countries. In China, there are a lot of sons of immigrants from Vietnam, and they are not recognized Chinese citizen, or the same happening in Kuwait, and the same are happening in Israel. So everywhere there are issues of citizenship that in some cases are issues that are much more connected to the situation that we have now in Italy. Sometimes are new situations, are totally different situations. Sometimes are situations that are connected also with the identity of the people. And this documentary, I make an introduction. Also, I think that it's much more easy to understand how also the documentary came. It was not a documentary that wanted to highlight or to tell the reality or the representation of these young people, the second generation, but it was a specifically a documentary that wanted and is making a change of the citizenship law. So for doing that, I designed basically my audience. My audience of the documentary was not the audience of the people who were agree with immigrants issue or to give citizenship to the these students, but my audience was the people of basically the other 50% of the Italians who were or disagree, or I discovered a lot of Italians as me ignore totally this problem. So obviously this was my purpose to engage this audience. So obviously if I need to engage this audience and I needed to change their idea, in my documentary I need to profile obviously the people that I wanted to interview. So this is the reason, because the casting of the people of the documentary are brilliant students and are great people with many extra activities. And don't forget that, and I want also to try to speak and to engage the audience to the meaning of the citizenship, because sometimes we forget many things about that. We forget the citizenship is something that has been created many thousands ago, also during the Roman Empire, and so it was something that was created to make in relation the individual with a community. So obviously is something that is created not naturally, but is a sort of product of the society, of the civil society. And at the same time, citizenship was an agreement that was created for the survival and the benefit for the community, basically, and not for the benefits of an individual. Of course, now in the democracy era in which we live, citizenship is something that is also related to the benefits of the individual, but the much more impact, the much more things that is important, and sometimes we have forget that citizenship is much more important for a community having citizens, especially good citizens, than for an individual to have one citizenship. Also because it's the case also of this documentary of, or the case of many people that have dual or more citizenship. So sometimes in this case, for example, if those 1 million of people will not live in Italy because they will decide to go to other country, because sometimes they have relatives in other country, it will be not a problem for them, but it will be a problem for the entire system of Italy, not having 1 million of citizens in the future. So I try in this documentary to see how it is important the side that is connected to the citizenship with the side of the contribution, the opportunity that the people can do to the society. In this way, I wanted to break, especially in Italy, the controversial debate about the citizenship that basically was ideological, was not based on the real data of the society, of the demography or the economy, but was simply between two parties, the party that want to allow citizenship, that was thinking that was giving a benefit or a gift to someone, and the party who didn't want to give citizenship because they didn't want to do a gift to other people. But we were not talking about a gift, we are talking about citizenship. That doesn't mean something that is much more important. So for this reason, the designing of the casting of the people obviously were concentrated and focused on, I call the brilliant guy. Obviously, this was a propaganda, and is a propaganda documentary to make a social change. It's not a journalist documentary about, and we reached the goal because I did a lot of screening in many parts of Italy, especially sometimes in the northern part of Italy that is dominated by a party called Northern League that historically was really against many things connected with immigration, but the 90% of the people who have seen this documentary and came also from Northern League, at the end of the documentary they say, no, they are Italians. I didn't know, or no, they are Italians, for me are Italians. Maybe they continue to be disagreeing with giving citizenship to the parents that are considered immigrants adults, but they will be agreeing to give the citizenship for these young students. So obviously my purpose was basically focused to try to solve this specific issue. Obviously we have a lot of issue in Italy about the diversity, and having and acquiring citizenship will not also the only solution to our society. But I think that a big mistake that was done in Italy in the last 25 years, and I'm saying that because I was basically born there and raised by immigrant parents and an Italian citizen, so I have a part of my roots that came from other countries, but a part of my roots is in Italy, and I also realized that the common sense of the Italians. I think that a big mistake was in the last 25 years put all the things together. So the young people born and raised in Italy were associated to immigrants, and sometimes they fight for giving a priority. There was a time in our politics I discovered in which 15 years ago, for example, some people, some politics try to make a strong fighting to giving citizenship to the adults, and they forget to fight, for example, for the right to the young people that were basically born and raised in Italy. So this kind of documentary tried to find only a strategy, basically, to start to find the point of starting of the fighting of the citizenship. And also we discovered that we are opening a lot of questions. For example, I'm sure that we will have a new citizenship law in Italy maybe in the next month, I hope. But I'm sure that the citizenship law that we have in Italy, or we will have in Italy, maybe will be adopted in other country. Because in every country now, you can consider only citizen because you are born in the country. Because basically, you can be born in the country, but what happens if, for example, you born in the United States and after 2 days your family will leave to China and they will live the entire life in China. And this is a point of start. And I think that also the law that we have in Italy, that you are a citizen just only because your parents are a citizen, it's not real actual in this area, because obviously there are a lot of people that are born outside of Italy, and they are Italians in some cases, but they don't speak Italian or they never been in Italy. So obviously the idea in which you are becoming citizen in a place or in a country, also because you are raised basically in this country, is something that is much more flexible and is something that is much more designed for the area in which we are living now. And many things of citizenship, I think that until maybe 15 years ago, were very difficult difficult to think. So for this reason, I think that in the last 15 years, the world has changed so faster. And also, I think I'm not a migration studies expert, but I think that also the migration is changed, or the attitude of the people who are migrating is changed a lot. Also because now with the high tech, the information and technology, many people who are migrating in a country, they can in every case enter in contact with their own country every day. They can speak with Skype and so I think that many things are changing in this world, and the society and the law has to change.
I have a couple of comments following up on Kwame's question. Mostly, there are 2 points that I think come up for Fred. One, okay, this is about giving visibility to this generation. Obviously, the whole film is to be understood against the complete invisibility, the complete lack of respect. In Italian TV, every day you have some negative epithet, something that a politician is going to say about an immigrant, right? So you have to consider the general culture is about either insulting or making invisible this generation. So you have to understand that kind of need of respect and recognition that come out in that context, which is a very different context than the US, if you will, in terms of the second generation and the ways in which politicians do understand the second generations. I'm not saying that the US is not a racist country, I'm just saying that the forms in which these exclusion happen are quite different. So I'm asking to you, are you trying to appeal this audience by saying we are good kids? You know, they're here and they're good kids. Like, what are the other options that a progressive intellectual has when given this visibility? So one question. The other one is about the repertoire. So because of that, also this generation doesn't have a repertoire of blackness, of Italian blackness, of Italian Chineseness, of Italian Filipino culture. So you can see that they're kind of pasting together with influences from US and kind of global media. Hip-hop, I would connect it with the global rather than just a US type of context. But I'm asking you to also think, what do you think is that the repertoire that we can play with in terms of Italian immigration? Do we just have that route of imitating, you know, repertoire that belong to Black England, or I don't know. This to me is a big question as someone who's seeing this developing with my cousins and people of mixed race families that surround me. The last point is about the politicians that appear in your video, and this may be a very Italian specific point, but you have a strange connection here. We have the president, Napolitano, who in 2001 made the statement, and we're now 2014, nothing happened, right, with that idea
Also
of...
before.
Yeah, sure.
Also 10 years ago when he did a law that was not going to follow that.
So again, yeah, so 2012 was a moment in which the hopes were high that somehow there could be the Ius Soli, the shift in the law, and we're 2 years later it didn't happen. Not only that, but the only woman of color Ministry of Social Integration, Cecile Kenge, who got insulted by everybody, who got subject to racism and sexism because of the fall of the recent government. She's now out. So all the projects that she was working on, we have no idea if Renzi, the new prime minister, will pick up. So to me, that's an interesting question about also the role of politicians, race and gender, and representation in terms of politics. If you can comment on that choice.
Okay, start from the last question. As I told you, this is a propaganda documentary, or was it a propaganda documentary, so I needed also to show when you are doing documentary or a campaign for a social change, you have also to give to your audience some option. So what you can introduce the issue, the problem, but you have also to see where are the solutions, or what are the solutions. So in this case, the audience can involve to make an action, or they know what they can do to support the campaign. So to do that, I needed in the documentary to say, look, we have this problem, but the solution are to change the law, and there are also some proposals of law. And so for this reason, I needed to interview some politics. In this case, it was Sarupi. That was basically was the first congressman that attract other congressmen to a bipartisan law. That is the law that we are discussing maybe in the next parliament, or we discussed in the last 2 years. And at the same time, this was a problem that we have inside the House of Congress, because the solution is in the House of Congress, if we talk about the law, obviously. And so at the time, when I finished to do the interview to the young students, I wanted to have only 2 persons in my documentary as to interview. One was Mario Balotelli, and I tried to send an email to his family, but I didn't receive any feedback. And the other was the Speaker of the House, not because it was Gianfranco Fini, but because it was the Speaker of the House. Because if I show the Speaker of the House in a documentary that is talking about a problem that is legislative, many other politics, they will say, oh, there is the Speaker of the House. And I was unexpected to receive so I sent an email, and after 6 hours I received a call that by the secretary that said the Speaker of the House wants to be a part in this interview. And many Americans don't know, but the Speaker of the House was also the lawmaker of a law that is called the Bossi-Fini, that is very heavy against the immigration, but at the same time was one of the people who changed the idea about the issue about the young people born and raised in Italy. I don't know if he's sincere or not, but it's very important. He's also here in America when there is a strong debate about immigration, and there are some Republicans that sometimes are much more open than some Democrats. It depends from maybe the states or and we have also a funny situation. For this reason, I try also now. I'm trying really to fight also against both parties in Italy, because I think that immigration is an argument that can't be used as a tool to receive votes in Italy, especially. I don't know in other countries. But we have the same situation, especially with the President Napolitano, that here is doing a great speech, but 15 years ago he was the lawmaker of another law called the Turco Napolitano about immigration, and it's the same law that didn't give citizenship to the young students. So both parties or both people did a lot of mistake about the immigration, because what happened, that immigration was treated like something that was an emergency at the beginning, and when you treat something as an emergency, you think that, oh, we have to help these poor people. But many of the migrants that came in Italy were not only refugees or poor people. My father is a doctor, and no one designed a policy in Italy in the last 20 years thinking also to the majority of the migrants or immigrants that are workers, sometimes middle class, sometimes, and for this reason, both parties use this immigration just to scare. So Lega North and some rights party, they scare maybe the population, they have votes for this reason. And the other party talking about immigration just an emergency or to support the poor people, but they didn't design a real diverse society that we need now to do. And so obviously I think